Hello, everyone. This is Dana from Dev Device, and today we are coming along with another show about telling people's life journey. And I have the very special honor to have Mr. John Cavendish himself on my show today. He is the CEO of Stellar Candy. Welcome, John.
Hey, Dano, thank you for having me. And just to say, it's so nice to be someone in a similar time zone so we can record this at 1 p.m., which is a perfect time
Oh
for
yeah,
recording.
oh yeah. That is a very convenient thing to live in the same time zone. Yeah, I guess we both know what we're talking about all these 5 a.m. and 11 p.m. meetings that we have with the US people. But yeah, I was first when you booked this appointment around like 2 p.m. my time. I thought, well, what's going on? Is this guy like a night owl, or or did he just misread the time zone settings? But turns out, we are actually on the same side of the planet, so that's great. And we also met at this side of the planet. We met at a Dynamite Circle event around 7 years ago, I would say, and I think it was in Saigon. Yeah, so I'm not part of the Dynamite Circle anymore, but it was a very interesting experience, and I met some very exciting people at this event. So maybe you could elaborate a little bit about what this is about, the DC.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, I read about the DC in someone's blog like maybe 9 years ago. I was in London. I was an engineer, like a mechanical engineer back in the day, and I wanted to make money online. So I was reading people's blogs about people that were making money online. And a few people mentioned the Dynamite Circle. So I Googled it. I was like, oh, they have an event coming up in Europe. And this was like June 2015. So I was like, all right, I'm just about to make my first dollar online because I was launching an Amazon product at the time. I will do the
Oh.
application and join so I can come to this event in June. So I did. I joined, and then since then I've still been a member. I mean, during COVID, I didn't do much. I'm really bad at using forums. They've got a really engaged forum. I'm just not very good at using forums. But I love the in-person events and the network and the traveling around the world, meeting cool people.
Yeah, yeah, and it's all about entrepreneurs, right? The whole Dynamite Circle is all about guys like you and me, who are finding their own ways in the online business mostly, right? And
Yeah.
quite a few of them also quite successfully. So.
Yeah, so originally I think it was more like lifestyle entrepreneurship, like Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week was the Bible.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
But now more like lifestyle entrepreneurs and location independent business owners. We all started out, I met people 7, 8 years ago who were just trying to make their $2,000 online. Now, so many of them have exited and yeah, doing super well. But just through time, just time, isn't it? Keep applying yourself for a long time and eventually it grows over time.
Exactly. There you go. There we have the first piece of wisdom from Mr. John. Keep applying yourself, and it takes time, right? I also I heard a very interesting video the other day saying that we have to, we need to take the time to make things work that we're working on. So most people just lose patience, and I think it's not clear enough to many people that it takes years. And this guy in particular said we have to allocate 5 years to make a business work, and to be to really get serious about it, and really apply ourselves for this amount of time to figure it out. And I thought, wow, that's a lot of time. That's a big commitment. It might sound a bit long for many people, but yeah, looking back, I think it's quite reasonable to say it takes 5 years to really build a business to a substantial size. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as they say, an overnight success takes 4 years.
Yeah,
You
yeah, yeah,
build up, and oh
exactly.
wow, you grew so quickly. Like, yeah, that's because I've been working on this thing for years.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think that's a very common thing to happen. That all these overnight successes have been years in the making. Yeah. But let's look at your overnight successes, John. I like to do this little time jump to the time when you were 10 years old. You can pick 11 or 9 also. That's fine. But yeah, let's go back in time and see what was going on. What was your life like? What were you thinking? What was on your mind when you were a kid? Just to kind of follow the journey from then to where you are today, which is
That's a
more
good
than 10
question.
years, right?
A little bit more.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, so I suppose like trying to think about when I was 10 years old, I don't remember my thoughts and feelings necessarily, but what I remember is just going with it, going with the flow, like not really knowing what I wanted to do, going through school, after school, being like, well, everyone goes to university, and I was good at maths and physics, those type of subjects.
Oh,
So I was
there you
like,
go.
I'll just do
Same
engineering
here.
because that fits what I'm good at. I didn't want to do straight
Mm.
physics or straight maths or math, and yeah, I just went into engineering, and I was like, all right, I'll study engineering. And I was all right at it. I could do all the past papers. When they always tell you at school, like, eventually you're going to have to study and eventually you're going to have to learn. But I realized, pretty much you can go all the way just doing all the past papers and you'll get a good grade because it's not, it's just the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
So I got to university and yeah, studied engineering.
That was in the UK.
In the UK. So it's like a 4-year degree and you get like a master's after it. But I did my third year as an exchange student in Canada. So I spent a year in
Oh,
Canada in my third year
all right.
learning
So you
Canadian.
went all the way. You followed, the path and did your degree. So you finished your engineer studies, and now you are what you call that diploma. What is the degree called?
It's called an MEng, like mechanical engineering degree,
Oh, okay.
master's in mechanical engineering. But then also after that, I did my chartership. So I did 2 years with there's like a graduate training scheme in the UK. And then I didn't like the work, but I was like, more money will make me happy. So I quit the job and went contracting. So doing contract-based work for like 3 to 6 month contracts where it's the same thing. You just with an
Hmm.
engineering design company, you do a project for them and then they just keep extending.
Hmm.
So I was making triple the money. I was like 25 years old and I was still
Wow.
like, yeah, this is still not making me very happy. The
Hmm.
whole six-figure salary thing is not, I wasn't spending any more money. I was just living
Hmm.
in London and I hadn't let my expenses creep yet. That happened later on.
Hmm.
So I just had that money, and I wanted to make money online. So that's when I took that capital and I started my e-commerce business on the side of working in this engineering company.
And what was the ignition? What was the thought behind, or the passion, or the desire, like leaving the beaten path of being an employee to starting your own business, becoming an entrepreneur? I mean, that's a big step. I mean, to me, there's these two ways. That what the one is the freedom path, the other is the security path. And
Mm.
being an employee is like following the security path, but then swapping to the other one takes quite a lot of courage. And so what made you do that?
Thank you. But I mean, I think leverage. So like, you always get leverage on yourself to make a change. And my leverage was that I was pretty unhappy doing what I was doing. And then I think everything's about like mental gymnastics of what is freedom and what is security. You know, is security a job where I'm living like with 5 grand in the bank, not paycheck to paycheck, but saving up? I can save what 5,000, 10,000 a year, or is security having 20,000 in the bank, or 100 or 200, or having cash? I think security comes through runway, and by changing my mindset to being like, well, real security is cash in the bank. I was like, well, there's nothing more unsecure than having a job because I could stop at any point. Like I could not get fired. I mean, I could get fired, but also I could just not be able to work and not be able to survive. Whereas
Yeah.
now I have money in the bank. And my goal when I quit was like and start the e-commerce business was I need $20,000. If I have 20 grand in the bank, I'll be flexible. I can live in Asia. That'll probably last me 6 months. Yeah, so that was my goal, and then you pass that and you go
No.
like, oh, 100, 200, 500, numbers just keep going up, don't they? If there's no
Mhm.
goal.
Yeah. Yeah, the sky's the limit. But your motivation to become an entrepreneur, to scale, to build up your bank account, and to scale this amount of financial freedom, which you couldn't see happening like in any foreseeable future, being an employee. Is that right?
Yeah, that and also, I always wanted to be different. I always wanted to have my own path, and I always wondered like how I was going to achieve my goals of freedom and doing what I want to do by working for an engineering company, earning 50 grand or 100 grand.
Mhm.
Also, I'm not a very good employee. I don't think. I can get the work done, and I'm competent, I'm reliable, I can get the work done, but I'm just bored. I just get
Yeah.
very bored.
I'm a horrible employee, but I don't even know because I never been an employee in my life. So yeah,
Wow.
the employee stuff is something I yet have to experience. But yeah, I knew from the get-go I have an authority allergy.
Mm.
So when people tell me to do things which I do not agree, I'm not very good at following instructions that way. But yeah, that's a different story. But so you decided to become and then which one? So I mean, entrepreneur is like there's like 1 million ways to be an entrepreneur. So
Mm.
how did you pick your way? Which is, if I remember correctly, you started selling on Amazon, right?
Yeah, so like I mean, just like everybody, I think I had so many limiting beliefs that I could do this and I could make money online. So I followed all the make money online stuff. Back in the day, like
Mhm.
maybe I should have a blog or do YouTube videos. But back then it was blogs. Like all these like create content, create a following. And I was always a terrible writer. I can speak and communicate very well, but I can write for nothing. I'm terrible. So I tried that, wasn't very good at that. I also pretty much gave up before I even started. And then I tried some other stuff, and then I realized like I listened to some podcasts, and I think it was on My Wife Quit Her Job, like Steve Chew's podcast, Ryan Moran back in the day when he was doing Freedom
Mm.
Fastlane guested, and he was like
Oh.
becoming like a super affiliate for ASM.
Hmm.
Easiest money
Oh
that
yeah.
anyone ever made, I think, promoting ASM, and he made like a couple of $100,000 just by sending out a few emails and appearing on a few podcasts.
Wow.
And I joined his group, joined ASM, and I was like, even when I listened to the podcast, I could hear the process. I was like, I could probably do this without even buying a course because it was just, all right, you just get a product, you slap a label on it, you send it into Amazon. So I bought the course anyway because I was like, this will hold me accountable, and I'll go to the US and go to their event in Vegas. And yeah, I mean, luckily, one of my first two products went pretty well, and then I just kind of rolled out more and more and more as time went on. And that was my first taste of making money and getting freedom. And then
Mm.
6 months later, I was making about $1,500, $2,000 a month. And I was like, well, my contract's over. I've still got some cash in the bank. I'm going to go to DCBKK, the Dynamite Circle event in Bangkok. And I'm going to go to Vietnam, which I always wanted to do. That was another drive of mine, was that I wanted to come back to Vietnam because I love the country. And if I could spend a few months here and make $2,000 a month, I can make some profit. That was the goal anyway, back in the day.
Okay. So you were lucky enough to launch the right product, which went well. And but that was 2013, what, 12 or
15.
what? 2015.
2015.
Oh, all
Yeah.
right.
So,
So we
but you
started
could have pretty much launched
roundabout.
most things there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We started. Yeah, I started in 2014. So it was a yeah. Also, and I was also an AM like an amazing the same course I think that you
Mm.
took. Yeah, yeah. So we were pretty much in the same boat back in the days. Interesting. I didn't know. We actually launched our Amazon business at the same time.
Mm.
Yeah, and then so you were building a brand. It was a private label, I'm assuming,
Yeah, private label brand.
with
So
trademark registry and everything around it.
that was a big
Oh,
lesson.
hmm.
A big lesson is get your trademark.
Oh yeah.
No, so I renamed. Basically, I'd had one brand, but I made it too masculine. So I wanted to make another brand that was more generic. So I came up with another name, Googled it, couldn't find anyone else that had it, and the problem was when I tried to get the trademark, somebody objected to it, and that led to like a few sleepless nights.
Oh.
Because it was supplements, and it was a funded supplement company who owned a very loosely linked word, but they had millions in funding, and they have a legal team that want to make money. So they just sent injunctions, and they would have taken me to court, and I probably
Oh.
would have won. But actually, back in the day, it was easier to change my brand name. So I pivoted, did the trademark research first, went through a few months of pain. Luckily, they were not complete, not they were not they were pretty understanding, and they just let me change it and sell through. They could have tried to object, but they wouldn't have it would have changed my name by the time they'd actually done something about it. But it was such a pain, back in the day, that was like, felt like my world was collapsing because
Oh yeah.
my main source of income.
Yeah, yeah. I have a few stories to share along those lines as well. But yeah. So one of the lessons learned, I would say, is that this trademark registration is something to not take lightly, and
Hmm.
maybe do a bit more than just Google search before you go for your trademark registration, right?
I mean, even then, I mean, like to be honest, even after you've had a real trademark attorney do the research on the database, they don't actually know whether it's going to go through or not. So
Yeah,
doing the
true.
research, and if anyone's selling the thing under the same brand, and then then get it, and then hope that it's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because like people will still object. People can still object
Yeah.
based on the categories and things like that. But usually you can just swipe a category off and you can get the trademark close enough
Mm-hmm.
without one or two other
Mm-hmm.
categories on if someone objects. That's my experience anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I also hired an attorney. I remember, and yeah, it's because I mean I don't know the first thing about law or even more about U.S. law, so I
Mm.
felt completely helpless in this process. So I think it's a good idea to hire an expert who knows what he's doing. And but yeah, it's an essential part of this whole private label process, right? Because your own brand, you cannot really go very far, because without, especially without having a registered brand on Amazon, which gives you all the other listing opportunities which you don't have if you don't have a registered brand, right? And it's also not a good idea if you want to sell your business, because without a brand, it doesn't. I don't think it's very sellable to have a Amazon business which does not include a registered trademark, right?
Yeah, basically you need that. And I mean, it also leaves you totally open to bad actors coming in and like claiming that they have the trademark and you're infringing on their IP and all that kind of stuff. So it's just something you need to protect, especially
Yeah,
because the
yeah.
way Amazon works. Outside of Amazon, I mean, I think it's not as big. You don't necessarily need the trademark to have a trading name. But
Hmm.
I think to get the trademark, you really need to, yeah, for a product, you really need to get the trademark.
Yeah, yeah. So, what to kind of summarize your Amazon journey? What were your main keys to success in your Amazon business?
Keys to success. I mean, apart from right place, right time, like with everything, like everyone, luck is always a part of it. Like luck and timing are always a thing in a business. I mean, you can hard work your way through and you can make a business work, but being on riding a rising tide definitely helped.
Yeah.
Right now is not as much of a rising tide as when I started for this particular business model. You can still be successful, just not as much of a rising tide. Um, being first in Europe as well. So I was one of the first
Oh,
supplement brands in Europe before all this
wow.
pan-European FBA thing existed. So we had to manually figure it out and do all the registrations and sell in Germany and Italy and all of that stuff, which was great. Um, and something that was like a big thing for me was like leveraging relationships with suppliers. So, all the people I know who've grown really quickly and made a lot of money very quickly on Amazon, it's because they found a good supplier that has a good range. And once they've got one or two good products with them, they either get payment terms or just ask the supplier for samples of other stuff and then just start rolling out everything in their catalog. And that's been a very quick growth strategy for me and for many of my friends who we also did the same thing at the same time. Um, I mean, that's my main takeaways from the first bit of Amazon. Oh, viral products as well. So
Mm.
funnily, one of my friends, once I was doing all right on Amazon, and a couple of years in, he was like, "All right, do you want to partner up?" And he had this page, like a Facebook page, like a viral news page, a couple of million followers. And he was like, "I did this video about weighted blankets, and it had 34 million hits." And this is before anyone was selling weighted blankets. 34 million
What?
views. So he was like, "Do you want to partner?" And then for months, I was like, "Oh, I don't know. It's an expensive product. Blah 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 blah." He was like, "I'll put in the money." I was like, "All right, let's do it." Like 70 grand for the first order. We got a container in, and his page gets suspended 2 days before we end to launch it. So anyway, we launch it at the same time that the biggest Kickstarter for weighted blankets was screwing up their deliveries, luckily. And we suddenly become like a viral product. We sell the container in 14 days. So we did 100K's worth of revenue in the first 14 days on this product. As soon as the container landed, bam, container gone. I was like, wow, this is gonna be awesome. We ordered $250,000 worth of worth of blankets, and then at the same time, like Chinese sellers start coming into the marketplace. The pricing goes from $200 a blanket to like 80 over a few months. So we sold through this business, and viral products, you can make money if you get in and get out at the right time. But overall, we didn't make that much on the project. You know, we made tens of thousands, but not worth the amount of effort and crap we put into this thing. But it was a cool journey, you know, that type of stuff. Like taking advantage of viral trends was a fun process.
But they're very difficult to predict, I guess, right? Like you said, you know, like things can change within 2 weeks. And you know, when something suddenly becomes the big thing, it kind of just as quickly just can tank, and you know, and everybody else does it as well. So yeah, it's an exciting but rather short-lived thing, I guess.
For sure, yeah. I mean, just like some of my friends sold fidget spinners and things like that, and you're like, you don't want to get stuck with a million fidget spinners, do you?
Fidget spinners, that was another phenomenon, yeah, that after the silicon spatula, I think one of the second biggest phenomenons was a fidget spinner. But yeah, all that too got outlived quite fast, I guess. Yeah, I had a similar experience with one of my products. I launched a press release, and well, I didn't even know what was happening. One day I just opened my seller account and I sold 100 units on that day of one specific product, a wireless charger it was. And I had no idea what was happening, because normally I would sell like 10 units a day or something. So I started my research. I had no idea, like, why would people suddenly buy my product like crazy? And then later I figured out that I had published a press release about this product. Somebody at the huge Apple magazine, what was it? Mac something?
Mac Rumors?
Yeah, something like that. One of these big magazines picked up this press release and picked like one small little detail which was unique about my product. So they actually published an article about my product and linked it to Amazon, and boom, and it went crazy. I mean, of course I was sold out within 1 day or 2 days or something. And yeah, but it also as quick as it came, just as quickly it subsided, because you know, a few weeks later nobody was talking about this article anymore. But yeah, I can relate to the excitement. You know, what's how, you know, suddenly sales go through the roof. It is a very exciting experience, and it's definitely worth having. Yeah, although it
I'm not rushing making money.
Yeah. So how did you move from there? Are you still running this business, or did you sell it?
I sold like 75% share in it. So that's another lesson, is sell things on the up, you know, like sell things when they're going well. And I didn't do that. That's where I screwed up. So I was on the way up. I had an offer for it for like $1 million. And because this guy's had bought my friend's supplement company, and he introduced them to me, and I was like, oh, you should just buy John's company as well. So they were going through, we spent all the money on the lawyers and getting everything done. And then the buyer's, I think, wife got sick, you know, very sadly. And he pulled out the deal like 2 weeks before closing. And by that time I was kind of mentally checked out, because I'd planning what I was going to do next. And, you know, market kind of peaked. I probably made the money back over time, maybe not. But over years, when I could have just cashed out like 4 years earlier. And then I sold like 75% of the company maybe 1.5 years ago, just to some investors who want to put a lot of money back into it to regrow it again, really, because it was floundering. You know, it was making money, but not like it used to, because it hadn't been my focus for 2 years. So yeah, always focus on what you want to succeed, and then sell it or get a good team in place. You know.
That's another great advice. Yeah. I think I completely agree. Yeah. So we first of all, we need to focus on this one thing to make it grow, because things like businesses don't grow on the side. I mean, unless you have a really great team set up and SOPs and God knows what, everything that needs. Unless you have a team that is capable of growing a business, and you don't have to do it yourself. I mean, then congrats. I mean, then you really figured out everything you need to know about entrepreneurship. But as long as that's not the case, we have to focus, and we have to make it grow. And yes, we should sell it when it's on the up, as you said. I also I luckily managed to get out, you know, in the right time, more or less. But yeah, I mean, if you're planning to sell a business and your sales are pointing like south, or anything in your business is pointing south, it's not going to go very well, and your evaluation, of course, is going to suffer a lot. But yeah, so that's another. So now you have still 25% in this business, but you have created another business, which is Seller Candy.
Well, actually, there was another stepping stone to Seller Candy. So
Oh, there was one. Okay.
I was doing my Amazon business. I was feeling a bit like unfulfilled and not knowing what to do. Funny how you go from being ecstatic that you're making money online and you can do anything you want and you're making plenty of money to, oh, it's not really that fulfilling though, is it? And I did a lot, and I got accidentally almost with my friend into Tony Robbins. So we were like, saw an ad for Tony Robbins in Singapore back in 2018, maybe 2017, 2018. I went to see Tony and was like, wow, this is awesome. So both him and me bought like the package to go to all of his events for a year, like one of each event, not the whole super high level one. And it's like, oh, well, we travel anyway. We can travel around the world. It's an excuse to travel. And also we get to do all this cool personal development stuff. So I got super into that. And then during one of the events, I was like, oh, well, I can make more impact and also, make more impact, still make money by helping other people make money on Amazon. So I started an agency, like a proper Amazon full service agency, doing everything from content creation to PPC management to basically performance management. And then for the next 6 months, I screwed around like, how do you make money with an agency again? Like if you focus on ops, the customers come, don't they? So, all right, screwed that up. So for the next few months, I was like, what do I do? Then I luckily found a sales coach, a guy called John Logar, who was also in the DC, Australian guy. You know John?
Dude, I'm
Aussie dude.
I'm following John Logar on a weekly basis. Yeah, I actually
cool.
met him at this DC event, and I've been joining his consulting champions program, yeah, he is until today. He's one of my greatest inspirations in marketing. Yeah, and a few other things as well. Yeah, I didn't know,
awesome.
man.
Yeah, so I mean, I worked with John. For 18 months. Yeah, I worked with him for 18 months. I mean, we went from not being able to sell anything to selling like $1 million ARR of consulting. John, he's just like bam, 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 bam. Like annual, not monthly. And then, but as we scaled that, I was like, oh man, it's so hard to scale this business model. I need all these smart, strategic people. And it's basically like running 5 agencies at once because you're doing a creative agency, performance management, you're dealing with all this Amazon crap and everything else. But during that time, I had about 500 sales calls talking to people. And I was like, well, I mean, everyone hates seller support. The worst part about any Amazon business is dealing with seller support. And the problem also with selling consulting to people is not everyone can be successful on Amazon, because they're not Amazon products that these people have got. They're just products. And if they don't fit the Amazon market, they're never going to be the runaway success that they want them to be. So I was like, all right. I'd also bumped into a guy called Ian Hawley from Hub Snacks, who was doing a productized service business model. And he was like, oh, I'm doing this awesome business model for the productized service. And maybe you can too. So I did a lot of research, did like a mini course on that with someone else. And I was like, oh, cool. I can make a service that gives an amazing, like raving fan experience to everyone that uses it. And we just surround a platform. So we surround Seller Central. And we do everything that everyone hates about Seller Central. So then over the next year, basically, we built out slowly, like, what do we do? How much will it cost? How do we fulfill it? And then I sold all my clients to the other business to another agency. He did a great job. He's still delivering that with half of them, 80% of them. And then I helped him grow for a while. We sold a load more clients for him at the same time as I grew Seller Candy, and now we're got 70 people, mainly because they're VAs, and there's a lot of VAs in there. 70 people, 50 plus of them in the Philippines, and we just do the stuff you hate doing inside Amazon Seller Central, just the technical stuff. So never talk to seller support again. Talk to us. We have a portal. You log in, and we just do what you hate doing.
Wow, that is very, very smart. Yeah. Yeah, so you created an agency around a productized service, as we call it, right?
Yeah.
Something that is like a service that becomes scalable. So you don't have to sit down as the founder and figure out every time, how do I, grow this brand, or how do I set up this campaign or whatever. So you just have this one thing that is standardized, which has SOPs, which has people who can fulfill it. And then you can scale. So then you just need, you still need the clients, right? And
Yeah, like a SaaS.
it took me a while to find out that when I'm in marketing, I'm not actually in marketing, I'm in selling marketing. That took me a very long time to figure out, because all the time I thought, well, I'm a web designer, I'm a graphic designer, I do this, I do that. But at the end of the day, who cares? I mean, you have to sell that stuff. That's at least as being the
John
agency
says,
owner.
as John Logo says, we're all sales-driven organizations. Like everything's driven by sales. That held me back a little bit as we grew Seller Candy, because I had the sales systems in there, and we're only a $500 to $2,000 a month service. So we've still been working on building out our marketing, because we had such good sales systems from John. It was all direct sales, as opposed to building up the whole marketing presence and community, which I think is the next stage for us.
So all your clients came through your network, or how did you acquire your clients? Which are quite a few, I guess.
Yeah, big mixture. So I don't know how many total we've got right now. A couple of 200 maybe.
Wow.
So originally they came through joint ventures mostly. So a mixture through direct outreach through LinkedIn, because we had that system running already for the agency and that was working. Then joint ventures with influencers in the space who would bring their audience in. We'd run a webinar. We'd give them commission on anyone that converted. That worked super, super well. And then recently, in the last year and a half, it's been referrals. So from clients, from other people in the industry, from influencers, just more than 50% of our clients every month come from referrals. And last week we had one of our biggest weeks ever of growth, because it was like all the washout from Prosper Show. So we added 10 clients last week, I think.
Oh my God. So you're following John's advice and visiting events and shows and conventions and stuff like that, right? You went to the Prosper Show?
I went to the Prosper Show. It's the second one we've done as a business. It was good. It was great, because we're pretty unique in the space and what we do. People are really resonating with our message. So it's great.
Did you have a booth, or you went as a visitor?
Booth. Went as a visitor last year, so we were trying a booth this year, and the booth's gonna make money. So we're going to get a booth next year, because it was a lot of fun. I mean, it costs about 20 grand all in, I think, to do everything. Like the booth's like 7.5, but when you invest everything and the time and all that stuff, it's about 20 grand. And we'll definitely make the money back. And it's just good to cement our, place in the industry, I think.
Oh yeah. It's a nice branding tool as well, I guess, right?
Yeah. Nice. And we did it cheap. We did it, bootstrapped it for 20 grand. You can easily spend a lot more than that.
You bootstrapped.
We bootstrapped it. Yes. Great joke.
Cool. Yeah, man, that's an amazing journey. So you went from engineer to become an Amazon seller, building your own supplement brand, and then going to, checking out other ways, your full service agency, and now your productized agency, Seller Candy, which everybody can just hand over their seller support issues to you. And it's definitely a great service, which is in high demand. Like every seller needs help with Seller Central. Eventually, I cannot count the amount of, and how annoying it is to do the seller support stuff. It's because every time you write, you're trying to kind of write down like, what is my problem, and that part already is challenging. And then it's a lucky draw who will be on the other side of your support request, because sometimes they just tell you to refresh your browser and basically get go and F yourself. So it can be annoying. It can take a lot of repetitions to get to the result that you're looking for. And having someone who can just do this and take this task off your hands, like Seller Candy, I think it's a great service, and your potential client base are like millions. of
Oh, thank
Amazon
you.
sellers, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
this
I mean,
guy's the
now we're
limit.
even rolling something else out because we've got a COO in that business now, head of sales and marketing that kind of runs and it grows. It doesn't grow, it's not growing super fast without me, but when I'm there, we grow faster and I'm working on those systems as well. We're running a virtual summit coming up in the next couple of months. We often get asked as well, though, do you do anything else? Or do you provide full-time personnel? So we don't want to do performance management because a lot of our clients, to be honest, are agencies and aggregators. We do, so we don't want to compete with our clients. That would probably be stupid. But what we are doing is launching a sister brand to support people with full service VAs underneath a different brand name, which is currently Magical VAs. Because like my belief is that, the reason that people don't succeed with VAs is it's like a mindset issue of the VA and a skill set issue and a personality type issue. So, we're going to fix those three things. So we're going to do mindset training for the VAs, like how do entrepreneurs think? How do you need to be? How reactive? Like they're not trying to be offensive to you. They're just very direct, some of them. Skill set, so skills training on Amazon related stuff. And then personality type, I'm a big believer in the DISC personality thing. Check it out, do your own DISC profile if you're watching this. I think if you just search for DISC, it comes up and Tony Robbins bought the rights to it, so you can do it on their site. And like DISC is all about, are you direct? I mean, I don't get the words right, but basically direct, interpersonal, organized, conscientious, or S is something to do with emotion. And if you're opposites, you tend to get a lot of friction with those people. So we're going to help people match them to a VA who fits their personality type and isn't going to start crying every time that they get feedback, or isn't going to be an I anyway, because I people tend to be the salespeople, and you probably don't want them doing anything organized on your team. But yeah, so those things. So we're rolling that out over the next few weeks. We're actually getting our first couple of test clients starting today.
Wow. So that's another new venture, which makes a lot of sense. I love this tree, this tree section of matching the right VA to your business. I think that's a very sophisticated approach you're taking there. And yes, it can be quite a lucky draw if you don't have a system, if you don't have this application process to find the right VA. I think it can go wrong in many cases. So to have this system set up and to kind of eliminate all these obstacles, and again, that's another huge service that many entrepreneurs can benefit from.
Oh, thank
Wow.
you. And
yeah,
one last thing then I want to share. One last thing I want to share, because
please.
This second brand, Magical VAs, is something, the only thing I've allowed myself to do in 2 years, which is outside of Seller Candy. And that's my biggest takeaway from everything that I've done the last 7 years, is exactly what you were saying. Focus on one thing. Like before I did the agency, I was doing my Amazon business, trying to do some consultancy, trying to start this thing over here, and everything was mediocre in terms of income and in terms of success. And as soon as I made my theme for 2021, focus, I mean, it cost me maybe a little bit of burnout because all I did was just sales calls, but I just focused on Seller Candy growth for 2021. And we grew from 20K a month to 70K a month in over 8 months. And then I kind of burned myself out a bit. But focus. If you want to be successful, just focus on one thing, and then I'm allowing us to go a little bit wider because I believe we can serve the same client base with this service. And I've got a COO and I've got operations team, and they're not going to let themselves down rather than me letting them down,
Amazing. So that's words of wisdom at the end of our interview here. Focus, and then focus. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. That's really great advice. And I think it's something to really take seriously. And it's very difficult because there's so many distractions and there's so many doubts and second thoughts. Can I really succeed with this? Especially when you hit the brick wall and things don't go well. It is very hard to stay focused on what you're doing and not to allow all your doubts and second thoughts to creep in and say, maybe this is never going to work. Maybe I should try this and maybe I should try that. So yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest challenges, I would say, for entrepreneurs to pick one thing and to really go deep on that. At the same time, you need your exit plan. I mean, of course there are also businesses which simply do not work. So,
Yeah.
in that case, we also have to set a certain limit where we say, okay, so if this, I think, if I cannot achieve this minimum amount of success within this period of time, I have to drop. I have to go. Yeah, I have to walk away, and I have to find something else. So, that's another very tough one. But fingers crossed that for all of us here who are listening and watching, that what we're doing now actually does have potential to succeed, and then the easier way is to just keep doing and keep focusing on what you're doing.
For sure, yeah. And
All
as
right,
John
man.
Logar says,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
sorry,
I know.
I
This
think
is
I'm
also
putting you a
one
bit
of John
one
Logan's
one
teachings.
off
Yeah,
guard.
and yeah, I mean, he is an amazing coach, and he has so much experience. And I would give a little shout out to him right here. He has helped a lot of people, including John Cavendish, which I just recently learned. And yeah, so if you want to learn how to run an agency, John Logan is the guy.
Yeah, one offer, one go-to-market strategy. Do it for 3 months, see if it works. If not, is
And
it the
follow your
offer? Is it
laps.
the strategy? Yeah,
Yeah,
follow your
yeah.
laps.
We're gonna keep a secret about the laps right here. That's an insider one. Okay, all right, cool, man. John, so we at minute 41 here. It's been great to have you and to hear what you've been doing, what you're doing now, and your insights and advice. It's been amazing. I think this will help a lot of people, to figure, to be inspired by what you said, and maybe also look at your services. We will definitely list them down in the description to make it easy for everyone to find you. And with that, I will say thank you so much, John, for joining me here, and we will stay in touch.
Cool. Thanks for having me, Dano. See you soon.
See you soon.